Hi guys, my name is Brady and welcome back. Today I've got a fun video. I'm going to show you how I shot this spec ad in just really like 2 days with no lights and very minimal planning and not a lot of budget. So like, share, and subscribe, please. So what we're about to see is this spec ad that I shot out in Utah with very minimal planning. I wanted to take advantage of the fact that I was out in Utah and it's beautiful in that area, and also the fact that I've got my FX6 and I haven't shot enough with that. And spec ads are so important, and I can't stress that enough. No matter what level you are at, spec ads are crucial to work your way up the ladder and really show your new and improved talent and techniques and learnings, because we're all getting better. So I'm gonna play this spec ad right here, and I hope you like it.
Lying here, so hear me out. So let's run, run, run. Pull me in and take me out. Let's run, run, run around. Hot city haze, cool summer skies. Let's get away and take a drive. Together as we go. No other way I know. Together as we go. No better way I know. Together as we go. Together as we go.
Did you like it?
So a lot went into the planning of this, and like we know, pre-production is very important, which is why I'm grateful for Milanote, which this video is sponsored by Milanote, but I would have used Milanote either which way. But I want to let you know that Milanote is what I used, is this program called Milanote. So I want to run through the pre-production process, what scouting looked like, where this idea came from, what the production looked like, who helped me out, who was a part of this project, because I'm very grateful for every single person that played a role in this video, and we'll get to that momentarily. But let's just work chronologically with where this came to mind and work onward and outward from there. I was on a flight out to Utah, and I was just getting that bug, that jittery bug where we just want to shoot something. We want to do something. I want to do something crazy. And I knew I had work that was happening when I was out there and other things to do, but I knew that I could squeeze in some time to make something happen. So I was like, okay, I want to shoot a spec ad. What do I have to my advantage right now? What resources do I have? And I thought mountains, because it's Utah and wintry mountains. I like beer. I don't know about you. You may not know that about me. You probably know that about me. So I was like, let's make a beer spec ad. It's quick, it's fun, it's easy, it's enjoyable. You can simply just pound it out in a day. And I knew that I didn't have a lot of time to work with. And like I've mentioned in the past, I asked myself the demographic of what that prospective client may be. And I looked at myself, I'm a beer drinker, I'm an outdoorsy kind of guy. What do I like? I like to crave adventure. And I kind of spiraled from there and made this demographic, or made this persona or group of personas to fit who this spec ad may be about. So I started brainstorming. I was like, okay, well, a group of friends, it's always fun to drink with a group of friends. It's always fun to just go adventure with a group of friends. So let's make this about kind of people in my demographic. So I was like mid-20s, group of 4 friends. They're off the beaten path kind of people. They're creatives. They like to go out and get to that spot and adventure and enjoy it there. And then I decided the beer was just gonna be the cherry on top. I didn't want this to be a product-centric ad at all. I wanted it to be mainly about the narrative and about the story, and tell the story and then sell everybody by saying the beer is the cherry on top. The beer is the destination celebration. And that was my decision on it. And it was I knew I didn't have a lot of time. I didn't have a lot of time to plan it. I didn't have a lot of time to pull it together, and I didn't have a lot of time to shoot it. So first and foremost, I didn't even know if I could rile up enough people to make this happen. And if it wasn't for one friend named Asher, he's somewhere. He's either gonna be right here or right here. He's somewhere, this kind soul. I texted him and I was like, I don't know anybody. You probably know some people, help me out. And like within minutes, he sent me like a bunch of different people. He was like, hey, they can come on this day, they can come on this day. What do you think about these people? Sent me all of their accounts, and I was like, dude. And so pretty much, if it wasn't for Asher producing everything, this wouldn't have come together. We very quickly pulled together a bunch of amazing people that just, everybody was so down to earth and awesome. So once Asher just completely saved the day with everybody involved, I knew that this could happen. It was possible. It's on to the next step. And I needed to really solidify my story before I went to anybody else and reached out to them. So I just took some time, sat down in the hotel room, and I was like, okay, what do I want this to look like? And I want this adventurous. I want these people to be fun, like myself. So we ultimately just had this storyline of the map telling these friends where they're going, they're adventuring, and then they're ending up hanging out, having fun, drinking beer. Very simple, borderline cliche, but sometimes it works for ads like this. So now that I knew I had the story pretty solidified and pretty polished, and I knew that I actually had the bodies to make this happen, the next step for me was to location scout and find places, because I'm not familiar with the Utah area, but I had a couple of requirements that I knew that I needed. One of the obstacles was I knew I had everybody for only 4 hours. That's all I could budget for, 4 hours of time to get 2 locations in. That gets difficult, especially with traveling and everything. So ease of travel was important for me. I didn't want to keep everybody hiking into the woods, hiking super far, or having to deal with rough parking. I knew where we were going to be was going to be busy on a weekend as well, because we shot this on a Saturday. So that was all things that I was taking into consideration when looking for this mountain location in particular. Additionally, I knew that with 4 hours, I had no time to work with lighting or doing anything, and I knew it was just all going to be natural light. So when it came down to actually picking a location for the mountain scene, I knew that I needed everything to be really within a mile radius, and I also needed the sun to be in the right direction. And granted, the sun was out, which is a blessing. I was hoping it was going to be sunny. Some of the things that I'm looking for with sun direction are backlighting, or really side lighting as well, and anywhere that I can add a pop of contrast. So I found an area with a lot of trees, so the sun is gonna be ducking through the trees and creating little patches of shadow and sunlight on the ground, creating texture and contrast, just like a gobo, or like how we put a light through blinds, anything like that. It's naturally doing that with the sun. So an app that I personally use, and I definitely recommend to anybody when location scouting, is an app called Sunseeker. I think it's $10 in the App Store, but definitely worth it. You just take your camera, and your camera turns into a sun seeker to where you point it in whatever direction, and it'll tell you where the sun is going to be at each time, at any given time of the year as well. So I used that just to predict where I would be, and I knew I had a window of about 12 to 4 p.m. for shooting in that daylight. So when I was scouting the locations, I just took my camera, took a couple photos with that in there, and dragged it also into the Milanote so I can refer to them later at each and every individual location, and know that if I were to change my schedule and my shooting schedule, the sun would be at X location. Which is another great benefit of keeping everything organized in Milanote. It's all just like a one-stop shop resource for when you're in your pre-production and your production stage. So I came across a great spot up off of one of these mountain roads that didn't seem like it was trafficked too much. I don't think there were gonna be many people there. And also the sun was peeking through the trees perfectly, exactly where I wanted it, creating a lot of texture, contrast, options for sun flares, still great lighting direction. And I was like, this is it, this is the spot. So I knocked that off the list, but also I knew that somewhere else on the mountain, I wanted that road shot that you see him coming around that rocky corner, and that was just further down the road where I kind of did the same thing. I stopped, I scouted it, I was like, okay, this looks great. There's a lot of depth, there's a lot of layers going on. Let's check out on Sunseeker to see what the light direction is. And the sun lined up perfectly, honestly, between this mountain in this area for like 3 p.m. and exactly where it was when we were there at that perfect time. So again, some things just really worked, but I wanted to keep all of these mountain locations isolated because I only had a few hours with everybody there. We only had about an hour and a half or 2 hours up on the mountain portion before we went to the house location. And then the second location where they're just hanging out, throwing the football, just waiting for the fun to happen, that was actually Tyler's house. And I walked outside when I left and met him the first time, and I was like, this is perfect. Something about the brick and the basketball hoop and everything just looked, you know, it made it easy. One, it's where everybody's gonna meet anyway, so we don't have to save any commute time. It's easy, it's familiar to everybody. That was the spot that I wanted, and I used the Sunseeker app, and it was in the perfect direction. Honestly, I just got incredibly lucky with where the sun was coming. So I took the photos that I needed. I started to have this idea, and this is where Milanote really comes into play. And I wanna talk it over for a second. It's a very quick Milanote board. Obviously, I've done more extensive ones, but it didn't need a lot of information. It was a pretty quick shoot, not a lot going on. And I knew that I wanted to have this story of these friends, so I made a little note there. And I even went through and made somewhat of a shot list. I didn't want to stick to it. I really wanted to have a lot of flexibility. A general music genre, which I kind of steered away from afterwards, going from this kind of folky feel more towards a pop direction. And Milanote makes it easy to really like
put down a pin. So when you send this board to people, they just have a Google map right there, which I think is new, which I thought was just so easy because people are like, where are we going? I don't know where to go. You drop them a pin and it's right there. It's all on this board. And then as far as locations go, we just dropped some photos in here, nothing crazy. We've got these Sunseeker photos like I had mentioned before. And then the talent, and I want to take a second to talk about everybody here, not just the talent, but the crew as well. I need to take a second and give a huge thank you to Shay, Landon, Tyler, Erica. There was Ryan, who was the behind the scenes video, and there was Kai, who was behind the scenes photo, and Rachel came to help be a production assistant as well. Everybody was such a cool group, and I can't wait to work with them again. We couldn't have done this all without them. So with everything in here, I kind of had a basic idea of what everything is going on, but I also wanted to create a little mood board just to give myself a visual. There's very few photos in here, but just enough to see what's going on with the driving shots, maybe some shots of some people. I've got a location shot as well. You know, friends just having fun, living life. A couple landscapes of the car going through the mountain, etc. And then for this hiking, hanging shots, just a handful of, you know, what I'm feeling. You got friends, you got a cool view, you got hands up in the air. I wanted something, some sort of detail, and just giving myself a visual idea of what this is going to look like. And the good thing about putting this all in a Milano is that, especially with being last minute, everyone had some questions and didn't really understand everything. So I was just like, here's the Milano board, check it out. This is what's gonna happen. This is kind of what it's gonna look like. This is where it's gonna happen. This is what the script is, yada, yada, yada. Makes it very easy. And Milano is free, so I'm gonna leave a link down below for you guys to go check them out as well. So pre-production is pretty much done. Now I wanna talk about camera as well. Of course, I used the Sony FX6, and the lens that I used for the entire day, except for one shot, was the Sigma 24-70 2.8. And there was one shot where I think I think it's a Sigma 11-24 2.8 art. Another photo lens as well. And a lot of the shoot from here was knowing that I had a few shots in mind. I really wanted Shay on the slack line, just getting a beer thrown to her and everyone kind of cheering her on, and her cracking open the beer and hanging out and sitting down on it. I thought that was a really cool idea, but a lot of the ideas that we came up with were just really improv because we were all hanging out and having fun. And like I said before, I didn't have any time for lighting. The snow just acts as a fantastic bounce. Like sun off of snow is absolutely beautiful. It's just a huge soft box on the floor, or bounce on the floor. On the day of production, I knew I didn't have a lot of time, and I kind of wanted to scrub through some of these shots and talk about what this day actually looked like. So we shot these scenes at the house second in the day, and then we actually shot the canyon ones, or the mountain ones, first, because I knew that up in the mountains, the sun is gonna duck behind a lot of these mountains a lot sooner in the day, so we were gonna risk losing any of our sunlight. So we decided to go here first. This shot of the truck coming through the mountain, kind of creeping through this canyon right here, I knew I just wanted that wide landscape. Originally I was thinking, do I get a drone shot? Drone shot was really hard to get, so I just threw the camera right up on sticks on a tripod, and the sun was exactly where I wanted it. Like I said, right around 3 o'clock, it peaked right up above this little ridge line. It's exactly everything that I wanted. It's nice when things work that way. So this was a really quick one-take shot. He went up, turned around, we had him on the phone, and he came on through, and it's a pretty simple shot. And then this was the same thing as well. Had it over on sticks. I was actually up here, is where, up there is where that view was coming down, so it's really like a big S-turn. And I had Tyler, the driver, add on some headlights as well, just to add a little bit more pop, a little bit more interest. But as far as camera movement goes for the duration of the day, I went handheld, except for a couple of those locked off shots. I wanted this handheld feel, almost as if me as the viewer was with the friends as well, watching kind of from a first point of view handheld feeling. So that's why I went with this handheld look. And you can see I was really working with the sun in a lot of these. I love working with the sun, you guys probably know that by now, but sun peeking through the trees, you get this contrast down in here, down in the snow. Same thing here, a nice little sun flare right there. Oh, look at that, look at that. If I were to change one thing about the shoot, it would be that I didn't wear jeans and running shoes because I didn't pack them, because I didn't think I was gonna be outside, because I didn't think I was gonna shoot this. But I did stay warm with my Cuts Sherpa. Let's talk about Cuts for just a little second. Traveling was so easy with my wardrobe because literally it's a Cuts hoodie, Cuts Sherpa, Cuts t-shirts. It was everything that I wear typically. There's nothing better than a tailored fit, great t-shirt that doesn't wrinkle, that looks great, that's just blank and simple and minimalistic. There's always a time and place for it, whatever the occasion is. Go make your life easy and your wardrobe decisions easy, and check out the link below for cuts and use code BradyBassett for 15% off. And then of course you see I'm working with the sun's direction. The sun is up here shining in this way, creating shadows right there. You've got this edge light really along their bodies as well. It looks super nice. And that's what I'm talking about when I'm working with natural lighting. If I'm only working with the sun, I don't want the sun to be right here shining in on them, because then it's just gonna flatten out everything and there's gonna be no contrast and depth and texture. So I'm working with a side light in a lot of these shots. You see the same thing. Sun's coming from right here, right there. It creates this nice little edge light on fingers. On the snow takes the sunlight when it's backlit very nicely. And then same thing here, the sun poking through this tree here. And look at all the texture that it makes on this snow. Because if it was just shining right here on this area, this would all be white, it would be bright. Your eye goes to the brightest part of the image. So by keeping the sun in this location, you're breaking up all of this contrast. So now my eye is gonna go to Shay on the slack line, and everybody else here kind of silhouetted under the tree hanging out cheering her on. And then another one here working with Shay on the slack line catching the beer. Nice catch, Shay. I even used the sun right here, but I still, what an arrow. But I still created this little Rembrandt triangle with the direction that she was in. And I still wanted to get some sort of wrap around here, granted that it's sun and it's very hard light, but still giving us this upstage lighting, creating the contrast across her face. So natural light is very nice to work with. So working with the trees and the sun and the snow is the name of the game for this mountain scene. And then coming back to the house, we got lucky. I mean, this one I was like, look at the way the sun peeks through there. I mean, that's all natural light, and I just wanted this little pop as they got in the car. Cool sun flare, adds to the energy, adds to the fun, adds to the pizzazz. And this was a fun shot as well. This is where I used that Sigma, I wanna say 11 to 24 is what it was, and I just laid flat on the ground. And we've got this house here that you see that's acting as like a fantastic bounce. So the sun, I think, is over here in this direction, and it's coming in off of the house onto everybody here, and you really see it on, you know, in their faces here. Erica's lit up fantastically. You see this nice edge here. Everything just looks a little bit more exposed, adding a little bit more brightness to them. And again, it's just using, it's like the sun being an artificial light and bouncing off of a large white bounce card. And the way that the sun was coming in from this direction just makes me so happy. The way that it's creating these shadows of the leg, the net, so much contrast and texture on the garage. It's just, we got lucky with the sun. But that wraps up really the pre-production, the shooting, everything about how I shot this video in a very big pinch of time. And I know some of you may be curious. I did invest money into this, and I really gave myself only a budget of $2,000. And that went only to paying everybody, the actors, the behind the scenes, renting a little bit of equipment, and that was it. So not a lot of money went into it. Of course, if we rented out locations or shot for a lot longer, that price tag may go up. But investing in spec ads it's so important, and I can't stress it enough, and I won't stress it enough. I don't care what level you're at, you're always getting better, and you always need to show what's going on in your head to any prospective clients. But this video was most likely all over the board, but I wanted to show you a rundown of what this day looked like, what this shoot looked like, and honestly just share it with you because I love you all, and I want to share it with you because you're all so awesome. But thank you. And if you like this video, please hit the like button, share button, subscribe. And maybe I should do more of these. If I should do more of these and you're watching this late in, leave a comment. And I'll see you next time.